We would like to welcome our next speaker, Hardik Chaudhary, with his crispy new talk show called Karak Chai. Hardik is one of the most memorizing speakers, so let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. Family and friends, welcome to this show. I am hoping that you're enjoying yourselves so far. Hold on your seats, grab your cup of tea and parle ji because I'm bringing you a show that is crispy, hot, kadak chai from Gurukul Drona, where we give you information from the show from the person directly to you. I'm your charming host Hardik Chaudhary, and I will be interviewing a person who is an artist, who is an architect, an interior designer, an inspiration to all the young minds out there in the field of art and passion. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Khushro Kalyanwala joining us from Delhi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Welcome to all.
So it's an honor to have you here. So this is how we are going to play this. I'm
My
going to
pleasure.
ask you questions, and then the audio, and then you'll be answering them, and then we'll give the mic.
Can you speak? Can you speak a little louder? I can't hear you properly.
Okay. So this is how we are going to play this. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then
Right.
you're going to answer them, and then we'll give the mic to the audience for if they have any questions for you. Okay.
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 Yeah.
Let's begin. Kadak Chai with Gurukul Drona. I'm your host Hardik. Let's jump into the first question. So, what inspired you to choose this line of work? What inspired you towards art? What inspired you towards architecture?
Okay. To begin with, it's not one line of work. So that's the beginning. The thing is, when I finished my at that time we used to have SSC, so finished 11th. Then 1 year we had to do pre-science college, and after that one had to give the architecture exam. But there was I'm from Ahmedabad, so there was a Bandh and there were riots, and eventually they took a objective test in the architecture school. Ticking off things in physics and science, and I had no damn clue. So I seriously don't know on what grounds. Those days, at least your architecture, you were chosen more for your general aptitude and stuff like that. So I took a bag with a couple of sculptures in them and some sketches. And frankly, when I was asked in the interview that, why do you want to become an architect? I said, because I actually applied to join the National Institute of Design and I didn't hear from them. So I've come here to join architecture. I mean, I had no clue, but I generally felt that, okay, it's got something to do with creativity. I mean, that to my mind was the root of, and thankfully one managed to get in. But today I can say that whatever I have done and whatever I do and whatever I try to do, I think the base is from School of Architecture, Ahmedabad, which is now CEPT University. It offers you a whole range of things which you cannot even imagine, starting from the environment. Those days there were very few people on campus. There were totally only 150 students, 30 students to a batch. Things have changed now.
Whoa.
But we had your electric, I think, so more than your architecture and design, the number of elective subjects that you could choose from, like photography, textile design, sculpture, ceramic, climatology. I mean, it kind of gave you a lot of small insights into a whole host of things, which I think is what primarily my basis all comes from there. Because today, whatever I do, there is some element of art, there is some element of persistence. It's a passion-driven thing. Even architecture as a profession is a passion-driven thing. If you do it just for the money, when you say who is a successful architect, I don't think the answer will be constant. I mean, some people are successful only because of the kind of work that they've churned out. They may not be successful commercially, but then that's something that you have to, over a period of years, kind of weigh the pros and cons of which direction you want to go into. And so, luckily for me, it's difficult to do, but yes, I started I started first in Ahmedabad, then I shifted to Delhi in '85. We had a partnership going. Then after some time, I was on my own. Then after that, I just decided to get into metalwork because I like old stuff. So one day I went and saw about 20 different kinds of cast iron railings, and I bought it as a junk piece. And then I told my dad that why don't we start manufacturing this? You don't get good stuff. So he said, fine, you do it and I'll handle it, because we used to have a factory doing some other things. So that's how I started. Now, today, actually, if you ask me, I do much lesser of architecture and interiors. My mainstay is my metalwork. But then I've put myself into a position where my USP is that I'm one of the few, if not the only architect doing metalwork with design as a background. So today, when a builder will not come to me, I have many architects who come to me primarily because they know, okay, Kushruko Deo, your problems will be solved, because he'll get back to you if there's any problem, because I tend to look at things differently than what a normal metal worker would be. And that has taken me to archiving, that has taken me to collectibles. It's funny that in the third standard, our tuition sir used to take us out for an annual or a biannual tour, all his students, his whole family and whatever. So this was in the late 60s, in the mid to late 60s, we were on this trip. Nothing was, it was all free. Nothing had to be paid for. So I was given pocket money of $10 for that whole trip. And what I did was, out of that $10, I bought 3 Mughal coins here. That I'm talking about when I was in the third standard here. Okay. I would out that entire thing on buying 3 Mughal coins here. So, and that's how my...
how much are they worth now?
I don't know. Unfortunately, we had a burglary, so I think they've been stolen. But anyway, there are other things. So, and so then there was a discussion where, so slowly I had so much stuff that I buy, I read about it, I get into it. Then I started this firm called Precious Junk, because basically what I collect is not necessarily antiques, but things which catch your eye, which have got a design element in it, which has got the way it works. There are things which are bygone. It was great technology at that time, but not usable now. But still, in those times when that thing was made, sometimes it makes you feel and wonder that, why they did it the way they did it. And it was a successful thing. So, it just, it's a kind of a passion. Then that led me on to, because my website was an archival-based website, then that led me on to my archiving. Naren would know that, I was also a member of the Roundtable organization. I put together 50 years of the Roundtable India archives. And when 43 years had passed, 7 years before that, I told my president then that in 7 years, we are going to touch 50 years and we don't have anything archived. So I took it upon myself and did it. Then based on that, I was offered invitation when School of Architecture turned 50 by the current president, that look, there's only one guy. I want to start an archives for architecture, design and planning, because in our country you have different archives, but you don't have an archives for architecture, design and planning. And so the point is,
yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm sorry, but I've got many questions for you. And in this one question, and no. And in this one question, you have answered like 3 of my questions. I am short of 2.
Okay, great. So let me continue. So what the president says, there is only one. I want to start this archives because in our country there are museums, there are archives, but there is no archives for architecture. And this was actually a thing to be thought about, because, people have done manual drawings, pre-independence, post-independence. They may have children, they may not have children. When they die, what happens to that work? It will all be trashed. So I said, fine. He said, there's only one guy who can do this, and I think it is you. Will you be willing? I said, yeah, but I'm sitting in Delhi and this is Ahmedabad. He said, no, don't worry, we'll figure it out. So for 4 years, once in a month, for 1 week, I was there. I set up the whole archive, set up the systems. It's a great feeling to have started something which this country did not have. Where it goes, I cannot, of course, dictate. But I think it was great because you open up a forum where other people, and I met people who were in their 90s, in their late 80s, who had packed up a long time back, but they were path-breaking people to have built this country. And so they were more than happy to actually come forward and give their work to the archive so that at least it would be there for posterity. Otherwise, it would all be thrown. So, I think at the end of the day, I would say whatever you do, it has to be passion driven. Don't bother about the money. The money will come. If you are good, it will come. And even if it doesn't come, doesn't mean that you're not good. Let me tell you that also. So, that's the way it is. If you keep yourself occupied with various things, you are bound to hit the right chord somewhere. There'll be some negatives, there'll be some failures, but that is all part of your overall success.
Khushru sir, we are so overwhelmed with your collections and with the kind of collections that you do with the antiques and stuff. I think Hardik has a question for that. Is that Hardik about the collections?
Yeah, tell me.
He answered the
louder. I can't hear you.
He answered the second question also in the same question. I was going to ask you about precious junk and your journey on how you build this.
Well, that's how Khushru Kalyanwala is. Okay, so he will answer all your questions in one go.
That's fantastic. So you answered like 3 of my questions in one question. My final question, you answered like 3 questions of mine in one single question.
Fine.
So I would ask you one final question. Do you believe that social media is an ideal place for younger generations to find?
Yeah, I knew that was coming, because when we spoke on the phone,
yes.
You said, I tried to look for you, but you're a difficult person to find on social media. So I knew that this should be one of the questions. Look, I have a take on this. My take is that yes, of course, with things changing, you got to change and you got to adapt. But to what extent you adapt in terms of social media, let me tell you one thing. For all the younger generation, it's great to, be everywhere. But I would like to ask all the younger generation, if you are on Facebook, why are you on Facebook? Is it because you want 1,500 followers who give you a thumbs up? Or is it that you want to connect with people who are meaningful? And let me tell you, whether you have 500, 600 or 1,000, let me tell you, eventually, not more than 10 people out of those 1,500 will be your actual friends. So my point is this. To me, Facebook is intrusive, fair enough. It's great at certain forums. I keep in touch with every single person who I want to in my life. And that includes people from first standard in my school to the last person who I've met 1 month back. Okay? But I don't want the whole world to know whether I'm very well at a party or at a beach somewhere or why. If I want them to know, they will hear from me directly. I don't care whether they send me a thumbs up or send me a thumbs down. My life is what my life is. Yeah? All the people who I know will be interested in what I do, and sometimes I very well get galis from them also. Okay, kya tu karta rehta? But that's fine. That is me. So, and that's what it is. So I think you have to choose your medium of social media. Don't get into any peer pressure कि यार ये करना ही करना है. I think do what you're comfortable. See, there are many positive. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's all over that there are many issues with social media also. You get caught into, wrong things that you say, and then some people unfriend you, and then there's a whole cycle. Ki yaar, wo main unfriend ho gaya, ab now am I a bad person? It sets about a whole host of things here. I just feel use it to your advantage. Don't misuse it. And I do not think that you should be bothered whether you get 2 likes or 1,000 likes or 2 downs. I mean, you have to be yourself here. You write what you believe in. You post what you believe in. Don't post nonsense just for the sake of, I always believe you have to be a rebel, but be a rebel with a cause. Yeah. Don't be a rebel without a cause. Underline. And that includes posting things just for the heck of it. So that's what I have to say for social media.
Absolutely.
See, I'm not on social media, but you got me, na?
Yes, absolutely.
Naren knew and he told you to contact me, so I was contacted. Correct? That's what social media is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for answering these questions. So I would give the mic to the audience. If the audience has any questions to ask, please mention it. Raise your hands and switch on your video and go ahead, ask him.
Yes, Sandeep has a question, but before Sandeep asks, let me tell the audience, Khushru has some amazing collections. He collects movie posters, the matchsticks, the perfume bottles, the glass, the metal, the collectible stamps, coins, you name the thing, which you throw as junk, and he will have it at his home. And that is what Khushru sir is all about. Sandeep, your question.
Yes, sir. I hope you can recollect me. We had met a couple of times at the.
I have to, I'm sorry, I'm on my mobile, so I have to shift. But carry on.
Yes. So my question to you is, I have seen you with your brooch on your shirt every time. So I want to know the history behind it.
What?
The brooch on your shirt. And whenever I've seen you with that.
Khushru sir, your necklace.
Yes.
Your necklace.
Yes.
No, that's okay. See, I'll tell you what. Again, for example, people wear ties. Now, according to me, a tie is boring. So this is an alternative to a tie. And I don't care whether it is very well good or bad or whatever it is. Yeah. So whenever my cousin comes down from Canada, I keep giving her that, okay, get me this. So I have a couple of them. They are actually called Mexican bolo ties. It's another thing that I collect. So I'm just.
Amazing.
So that's it. And of course, I've started wearing the hat because I had very long hair. Now I don't have too much hair on the head. Naren knows me. I had hair till my shoulders, Now it's still a little long behind, but not on top.
But can we see your famous ponytail?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to pull it forward. Here it is, a little bit, whatever is left for.
Oh, wow.
So tell me, any other questions?
Any other questions, audience? We'll take one last question and then we'll give the mic to the anchors.
Sorry.
We'll take one last question if possible. Then we'll give the mic to the anchors.
Yeah, sure.
May I ask one question?
Go ahead, sir.
Sir, can you just name 5 of your strangest collections that you make? The strangest, I mean, the most obnoxious collections that you may have. Can you name 5 of them for our audience?
Okay. It's difficult actually because there are lots which are strange. But I have a collection of fossils which not everybody collects.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I have a collection of bottle openers and corkscrews. Okay. I've got a collection of locks, not as much as the Guinness Book of World Record holder, but I've got quite a few and quite a few strange ones. I don't know. Yeah, I've got various things. I've run out of actually, the kind of. I think there are about 235 different collections. The last I counted here. So my point is, when I have when I have two of any kind, you have to collect the third for it to be called a collectible. Then on, when you see it, then you keep building. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, you know. So then I have, of course, I have glass bottles which are people collect, but they are in three. They are whiskey and wine bottles. Then there is medicinal bottles, and then there's other things like daily domestic bottles. So they're you know, they're 150 years old downwards. There are all kinds of this thing. I collect stoneware, printed advertisement ware, cigarette tin boxes, you know, a whole host there. So miniature cars, whatever. I mean, see all these books behind. Every single book behind that you see is on collectibles. But my whole library in the office is on architecture. All my books and reading at home is all to do with collectibles.
So isn't it strange, sir, that, you know, if I collect something, I will say I have 235 pieces of this collection, and you are saying that you have 235 different types of collection in which
correct.
you will have so many other collections.
Correct. I actually wanted to do, and it's been there a long time. I wanted to do a show, which hopefully I'll do, is called A Century of Collectibles, because I probably have one object from every single year, from whichever you start to whichever year you end here. It's like that.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Pleasure.
It has been an honor, and thank you, audience, for asking such
My honor
wonderful
too.
questions. And over to the anchors. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow, that was really a hot and crispy talk show.